It was a dark and stormy night, and but yeah, it actually is storming outside. The void beneath the behavior, chapter one. Sometimes I wonder if a lot of humans' flaws traces back to inner emptiness, not just sadness, not just insecurity, not just a bad day. I'm talking about that deep internal vacancy where a person has not met themselves, has not accepted themselves, has not understood themselves, and because they hadn't have not built a real home inside, they spend their life looking for shelter in everyone else. That emptiness can turn into entitlement. It can turn into jealousy. It can turn into judgment. It can turn into attention seeking, comparison, arrogance, people pleasing, overspending, over talking, over posting, over performing, over explaining. I'm about to switch slides. I'm about to. It is the invisible engine behind a lot of visible foolishness. Some people are not really mad at you. They are mad at that your presence reminds them of what they refuse to confront inside themselves. A quiet person can irritate a person who is addicted to outside validation. A knowledgeable person can irritate a person who has never developed the discipline to learn. Story of my life. A healthy person can irritate someone who has neglected their own body. Story of my new life. I had to become fit due to that life ending situation I endured in 2023. And the comments that people make, even when I'm just going to the grocery store and having certain things, if they see the food and the fruits and the vegetables, but then I pick up something in the impulse shopping section near the register, oh, I thought you were eating healthy. First of all, you don't know me. A quiet person irritating people. I used to be talkative outwardly, but I accepted my introversion, and it's so weird when I'm around people that I don't know, and they're like, "You're so quiet, baby. I don't know you. What am I going to be talking to you about? If you would like a conversation, there's an appropriate way to say that. You can start it, and then I'll engage. But just to throw the silence on me, like if it's my responsibility to validate your existence, a financially stable person can irritate someone who keeps making decisions from chaos unless you give them the money. A peaceful person can irritate someone who has made dysfunction their permanent address because they want you to engage in a mess. They want you to be invested in the stupid social media post that they're in. They're upset when you don't know the name of their favorite artist when they're trying to tell you a story about it. Like people, it's a lot of immaturity. Maturity is rare, and that is the reason why so many people are being used, abused, taken for granted, messed over, because your immaturity is a weak point, and people see being labeled as immature as an insult. In my instance, it's me describing what I see. If you take it as an insult, then that's what you took it as, but that's not what it was meant for. Honestly, with the amount of knowledge I have on human behavior, I could make a channel about something completely not useful to the everyday person, but get the views. I could do the rage bait. I could do the lifestyle living. I could do the luxury flaunting. I could do the grifting. I could be a fake channel pretending that I believe in something I don't, peddling the narratives that people who believe in it do with no real action matching in my real life, and people will still fall for it. So the fact that I'm even here doing all of this, they think they're making observations. They think they're keeping it real. They think they're exposing hypocrisy. They think they're calling out injustice. Sometimes they may be touching a real issue, but underneath the issue is personal discomfort wearing a public service outfit. Word to a person yelling community accountability while being mad that no one clapped when they walked in the room. That is the danger of emptiness. It turns the world into a defendant. Everyone around the person becomes responsible for a pain they did not create. Sounds very familiar. Chapter two, when emptiness starts wearing people faces. When inner emptiness is deeply subconscious, people often blame their discomfort on whoever is around. They may not say, I feel unseen. They say, you think you better than everyone. They may not say, I feel intellectually insecure. They say, you always trying to sound smart. They may not say, I do not feel attractive. They say, everyone with confidence is conceited. They may not say, I have no discipline with money. They say, rich people are evil. They may not say I never built my own identity. They say you change. Meanwhile, a lot of the richest people in the world is rich from companies that people regularly overspend with. Or for the people who are not interested in knowing who the CEO of companies they support are, a lot of people y'all hate is on boards of these companies. They're investors of these companies. So when you're spending with these companies, you're giving that person that you said shouldn't be rich money. This is why financial literacy, being educated on things, if you're really going to be against something, learn the full scope of the enemy that you're supposed to be against so you don't sound like a hypocrite when you're attacking the public enemy, but then you're supporting the private, more rich ones. Because a lot of y'all people who think that y'all beefing with celebrities, baby, they have employers. The person that they work for is the one that they the agenda that they pushing. So you swinging at the wrong enemy. You swinging at the scarecrow when the farmer is right there looking at you. And let's be honest, some people do change. Some people do become arrogant. Some people do use success as a weapon. Some wealthy people are exploitive. Some educated people are condescending. Some healthy people are performative. Some spiritual people are judgmental. Some religious people are hypocritical. We are not pretending every criticism come from jealousy, but we can also cannot ignore that a lot of criticism is not analysis, it is projection. Projection is when a person takes something unresolved inside themselves and places it onto someone else. In psychology, projection is often described as a defense mechanism because it protects the person from confronting a feeling they are not ready to own. Instead of saying, I feel small, they look around and accuse someone else of trying to make them feel small. That is why some people can sit in a room with 10 people and the one person they target is the one person who makes them feel the most exposed. Not because the person did anything wrong, but because peace exposes chaos, discipline exposes neglect, knowledge exposes avoidance, self-respect exposes people pleasing, boundaries exposes entitlement, healing exposes stagnation. And when someone is committed to their own blindness, your clarity can feel like disrespect. And for anyone going through personal development, that's why you have to, because you really be self-sabotaging if you don't realize your part in stuff. If you don't take anything from when supervisors correct you, especially if they have a correction, to consider, okay, this person say I'm always late, but I do feel like they're bullying me. But let me work on my time so that they can't say I'm late. Like people don't even try to grow from what the complaint is. For me as a kid, I didn't like nagging ass adults, so I always tried to do what I was supposed to do so that when they still nag, I knew then and there, okay, I'm standing on all 10. I'm 100% with all my duties. This person is just miserable. It's not me. Versus knowing, okay, yes, they went overboard with correcting me, but I could have done that better. I could have not did this. And that's how I continue to grow, because even if it's negative stuff, I do a self-check to make sure, because some things are lies. Like if a person say I'm a bad listener, they're a liar, because I literally shut up if other people talking. That's why I would never do good with online panels, because people online have a habit of over talking. I'm not gonna talk, and then the person over talking will say, "Why you quiet?" Because you're talking, dummy. Chapter 3: validation economy. We live in the validation economy. Attention is currency, likes are currency, compliments are currency, being desired is currency, being invited is currency, being envied, being seen with the right people in the right place, with the right outfit, in the right car, with the right caption, at the right angle, with the right lighting is currency. It's been like that, but social media just changed the way it looks. So to some people, they're blaming it all on social media, like they do with all tools. I'm sure when people started driving, they blame cars for people gaining weight. Like, it's still a tool. The person using the tool has more responsibility than the tool. Unless social media can form a physical body, like the little movie Meg or Megan, whatever their name is, with the little twerking robot, and come and force itself on you, you still have to take your responsibility. Because if you never take your responsibility when you interacting with things that harm you, then you're going to continue to be harmed. Because if you're able to miss that connection, then that means you still gonna have that whimsical mind thinking that I'm doing things for the good of it. And then when they get a bad result, oh, it hurt me. Like, no. I mean, you could do that if you want to. Shout out to the eternal victims out there. A compliment can feel good at 10 a.m. and be gone by lunch. A person can post a picture, get 700 likes, and still refresh the app like someone waiting on a FEMA check after Katrina. The attention came, but the emptiness stayed. The applause arrived, but the ache kept its shoes on. That is because external validation can soothe the void, but it cannot repair one. This is why some people become addicted to being noticed. They do not want attention because they're happy. They want attention because their silence makes them hear themselves. And for some people, hearing themselves is terrifying. They have been running so long that stillness feels like punishment. They have been performing so long that rest feels like failure. They have been admired for a mask so long that their real face feels unemployed. This is why a drained person may judge a quiet person. The quiet person knows how to share space without demanding a spotlight. The quiet person can sit in a room and not make the oxygen about them. The quiet person does not need every pause filled, every moment narrated, every disagreement converted into a performance. Nothing worse than when I'm somewhere in public and it's quiet and then someone decides to break the silence. Like, them inner thoughts and inner demons be eating y'all up so bad that y'all get the humming. Some of y'all get the scrolling with y'all volume all the way up with no headphones on, and now places is starting to make laws because people really just so uncouth. They have to have laws, and airlines is making laws. So now y'all speakerphone people and speaker music people, y'all going down. Y'all not gonna be allowed nowhere. They taking society back from y'all. All these little behaviors that people try to normalize, that's just completely outlandish stuff that you do in the garage with your homies or with your homegirls. The people ain't playing that no more. People want society back. But sometimes quiet is not arrogance. Sometimes quiet is fullness. Sometimes quiet is self-possession. Sometimes quiet is a person who already had a meeting with themselves before they entered the room. I don't, these slides. Quiet people become mirrors. Baby, what is this? Mr. Void beneath the behavior. I don't know. A quiet person can become a mirror without trying. They're not preaching. They're not flexing. They're not correcting. They're just existing. But when a person is empty, someone else's internal fullness can feel like an accusation. I'm gonna just go big screen because maybe I don't know what's going on with that. Why does screen look like that? I look ashy, Larry. Did I change this? Or maybe I'm gonna turn the light on. Maybe that might help. I don't know. Dang my, there you go. Did that help? I don't know. It might have. Oh well. A quiet person makes the loud person wonder why they talk so much. A secure person makes the insecure person wonder why they perform so much. A patient person makes the reactive person wonder why they explode so quickly. A disciplined person makes the impulsive person wonder why they keep sabotaging themselves. And because the insecure mind often defends itself before it examines itself, it looks for ways to reduce the mirror. That person is weird. They think they're better. They fake. They boring. They act like they too good, bro. The fact that this shit is word for word what happens in real life with different people, but they react the same way, no matter who the person is, no matter what their career is, how they grew up. But when they have this symptom, if you get in a conversation with them that's fact based and they get to throw in their opinions and feelings and other people's feelings, they will immediately start telling you that you're the one using talking points from other people, even though yours could be direct from experience, actual fact. You could even be withholding information to not feel like you demonizing the opposing side or the opposing fact. And that person will get the, oh, you just listen to anything you hear on the internet. Baby, I don't use social media, so where I heard it from? Like, sometimes they're not emotionally panhandling. Sometimes they are not looking for a hit for validation from every passing face, like a social crackhead standing outside the gas station of approval. And that bothers people who have been living off reactions. The quiet person becomes dangerous because they prove that another way of being exists. That is why growth is disruptive in stagnant environments. It does not just change your life, it changes the emotional math of the room. When you stop begging, the people who enjoy being needed feel unemployed. When you stop reacting, the people who use chaos to control you lose their remote. When you stop, so people really defend outward anger. Baby, you're being controlled. And once you defend that, That was your one chance with me. You will never hear no intellectual thought or any meaningful words from me ever again for the rest of your existence. I don't care if you become a yogi or you took a pill in Ibiza because Ivici said it was cool. So you will never have to worry about me because those kinds of people not only are they regularly destroying their lives, and this is based off of the people I encounter. So if I don't know people in the wild, I'm not saying everyone is like that. I'm speaking off of my personal experiences, and I don't just see it in one conversation. These are people that I have had multiple interactions with and seen them in many different environments. These kinds of people, they is almost like a form of voluntary retardation to where they really don't make the connection of their destructive behaviors, they willingness to be ignorant, their aggression against anything that goes against whatever they believe in, or the ability that if you was a yes man, you could have them wrapped around your finger. And that's basically what the people who be around and who be destroying their life do, is that they be yes man to them. So they really be falling for it. Like, and legit calling people friends, whole time the friends just agreeing with your dysfunction while they benefiting from you. Let me pause this because I need to fix this. I do not like the way this looks. Don't mind that stuff in the background. The Twitter and the Instagram is still up, but disregard that Cash App. I think I deleted that. I don't remember, so don't even try. But knowledge offends the unprepared mind. Chapter 5. People with small minds are often annoyed by people with knowledge because knowledge is not just information. Knowledge is evidence of effort. A knowledgeable person can make an unprepared person feel exposed, especially if that unprepared person has built their identity around being loud, confident, dominant, or always right. Oh my God, yes. And it don't matter the gender. I've experienced it with men and women. And but those traits are blah, 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 blah. This is why some people mock intelligence. They call it doing too much. They call it talking white. They call it thinking you're better. They call it using big words. They call it trying to be deep. But sometimes people call something deep because they're standing in the kiddie pool of thought. That does not mean intelligent people should be arrogant. Knowledge without humility becomes a decorated prison. But the existence of arrogance does not make ignorance noble. A person who refuses to learn can start treating knowledge like an insult. That is dangerous because a society that mocks thought becomes easy to manipulate. We already here. We already here. Too late. If people are allergic to knowledge, they become dependent on vibes, slogans, rumors, gossip, bait, and whatever cousin Ray Ray said in the comments with the profile picture of a Dodge Charger and a middle finger. Knowledge gives people tools, ignorance gives people volume. And when a person has inner emptiness, they may use volume to cover the fact that they have no structure underneath. This shows up in families, workplaces, friendships, churches, and relationships and online spaces. Let me see which one. There we go. I'm a box. Someone asked a thoughtful question, and instead of answering, another person attacks the tone. Someone provides a fact, and instead of engaging, another person says, "You think you know everything," or they try to say you heard that from somewhere else, or they might even move the goalpost. That is, I don't see how you people could regularly debate with people who are not actually debating about facts, and they're throwing in opinions, they're throwing in insults, they're condescending, they trying to shit on what you saying or trying to play with your intelligence. And there's nothing worse than an idiot trying to play with my intelligence. Stuff like that. If this was a decade ago, they would be missing all the teeth in their mouth. But growth is a thing, and violence is not right. And especially when it comes to nonviolent situations, turning it violent due to feelings, I don't condone that. But those people speak that language, so sometimes I be wanting to say "hola," but someone tries to grow, and instead of being supported, they get labeled as acting different. That is not always disagreement. Sometimes that void is defending its territory. That is why it's hard dealing with people who don't know what they're doing in life. Are any of these slides related to what the hell I'm saying? Oh yeah, it is. It's just it got mixed up again. I'm gonna sue PowerPoint. I'm definitely gonna sue them for this. Chapter 6, health, envy, and the I thought you were healthy crowd. People who do not take care of themselves become strangely obsessed with people who do. Let a person eat vegetables, drink water, exercise, stretch, rest, watch their sugar, care about their skin, or build some kind of wellness routine, and certain people become investigative reporters. But the first time that healthy person eats a burger, has a dessert, drinks a soda, skips the gym, or enjoys something unhealthy, here comes the committee. I thought you was healthy. I thought you didn't eat this. Oh, so you fake healthy? No, baby. Health is not a hostage situation. A healthy lifestyle does not mean a person can never enjoy something. It means their habits are not controlled by chaos. One slice of cake does not erase discipline. One missed workout does not cancel consistency. Which, first of all, what is a missed workout? That means that y'all up here telling people how often y'all work out and telling them the days you missed it. That's you. Y'all, and that's the problem. All that small talk got people regularly spilling the information. Somebody always asking you what you're doing is information, because eventually, if they coherent enough, they'll start to see your habits or see where you're going, or start to say, oh, you're not at work today, or oh, this, and this. People do not need to know that about you. Make people work for access to you. If a person does not regularly have in-person access to you, when they not in person, stop giving them in-person access by telling them everything about you. That is why y'all feel so drained, because y'all give everything away to people who never worked for it. People need to work for you. You need to work for people. If you want a friendship, both of y'all need to be working for each other. If it's a relationship, both of y'all should be working for each other. Unless it's hypergamy, then that's a different thing. That's between y'all and the bank statements. But when it comes to level playing fields or playing fields that's supposed to have love, care, and concern, people need to work. That friend who barely keep up with you, and you shouldn't be keep volunteering information to them. They shouldn't know what achievements you had. They need to find out when they talk to you again. I used to make that mistake, so I'm talking from experience. This ain't talking from a throne, even though I am king in this piece. I'm not talking from a throne to people. I'm talking from a person who wishes people had other people to tell them. Because if I had a channel like this when I was growing up, like I would still have the same knowledge, but my experiences would be completely different. I didn't have any examples growing up, not examples of what a strong man should be, not examples of what healthy connections to women should be, not examples of what a healthy family should be, not examples of what finances should be, how to handle yourself in public, how not to share your gifts with everyone. If you a person that's intelligent, if you have a skill, or if you have spiritual skills, don't share that with people all willy-nilly. People need to work. They need to work. Like, stop giving stuff away to people. They never gonna appreciate it at all. One missed workout does not cancel consistency. One vacation plate does not make someone a fraud. But to the person who has neglected themselves, seeing someone else have balance can be irritating. They were hoping health was impossible, miserable, or fake, that they could feel better about not trying. So when they see a disciplined person enjoy a treat, then they try to drag them down into the same category. See, you just like me. I had to cough on that one. Yuck. Don't ever say that. No, they're not just like you. They're visiting. You live there. That is the difference. This connects to emptiness because some people do not want freedom. They want company and captivity. They do not want to improve. They want the improvement person to fall back enough for them to stop feeling convicted. And this is where self-neglect becomes social aggression. A person who does not care for themselves may start demonizing anyone who does. A person who hates their reflection may start attacking someone else's glow. A person who has abandoned their own body may become the loudest critic of someone else's routine. That is not accountability. That is envy with a blood pressure cuff. Chapter 7, don't mind the slides because PowerPoint getting sued. Flashy living and financial hunger. People who lack resources are often hyper fixated on the flashy and the wealthy, not because they're greedy, sometimes because poverty, scarcity, and deprivation train the mind to see visible luxury as proof of escape. If you grew up around instability, a luxury car can look like safety, even though the maintenance fees gonna send you right back to the bankruptcy. A designer bag can look like arrival. A big house can look like emotional rescue. A VIP section can look like love. A wrist full of jewelry can look like evidence that the world finally stopped ignoring you. But flashy is not the same as free. Some people are not buying things. They're buying witnesses. They're buying clothes, a reaction. They're not buying cars. They're buying a temporary silence from the voice inside that says, I do not feel enough. The problem is that debt does not care about your wound. Interest does not care about your childhood. A repo truck does not pause because you were trying to prove something to people who will not even help you change a tire. And baby, people be attacking the repo people, which is so insane because that whole scenario of them attacking the repo, sometimes taking their life, now your life over a vehicle. So you sold your soul for a vehicle that wasn't even yours. A person can spend thousands trying to look successful while avoiding the habits that would actually make them stable. They can wear wealth on their body while their account is in a medically induced coma. They can post luxury while behind the scenes they're ducking bills like it is dodgeball at the community center. The CDC has reported that about 1 in 3 US adults feel lonely, and about 1 in 4 say they lack social and emotional support. Y'all better not be the people who be spewing all that hate online because y'all bringing them behaviors into real life. I'm literally seeing people argue in real life like it's the comment section. Their brain is not even processing what they're hearing. They just saying what they've been wanting to say, even if it don't match the context of what y'all discussing. It's very strange now. That matters because when people lack true connection, they often seek substitutes, status, spending, attention, performance, or belonging through image. Those substitutes may look glamorous, but they do not replace support, identity, or inner stability. And that is why if you're going to be alone, you do better with being alone and building yourself up versus being alone and trying to fill that silence with other people because you're still going to be weak on the inside. If you got in a car accident and you was injured, would you still go to work the next day? If you bleeding and you can't walk, your job wouldn't even let you do that because you bleeding everywhere. So why y'all do it in friendships and relationships? You're mentally, emotionally, and physically and on the inside bleeding, but y'all still force yourself to be around other people instead of trying to figure out the wounds and heal the wounds. And honestly, the not being taught excuse has only so many swipes you could do on that because people didn't teach y'all to be this evil. And a lot of y'all are very vindictive, bitter, and evil. Now, some of y'all repeating what y'all parents did or whoever y'all caregivers were because they bitter Bettys and bitter Bobs, but nobody taught y'all how to fail and y'all still did that. So you can learn good things as well. Stop using excuses. Once you realize the void is there, you get your little excuse that little time, but once you got to start working towards not having that as something that you need to work on. The issue is worshiping the symbol while neglecting the substance. A person can look rich and still be emotionally bankrupt. A person can be surrounded by luxury and still be starving for meaning. A person can be admired publicly and still feel abandoned privately. The void loves expensive costumes. And my goal is never to make a mass change because I don't really care that much. And not to mention, the systems are outlasting human life for a reason. The system gonna be here when I leave too. People still gonna feed the system. This is for people who could really just enjoy life while other people live in the system. And if you do, you could go and be cool with certain people that still live in the system too, but just know your limits with them and don't let them destroy what you build. That's all. You can socialize with people in public. You don't have to a person say good morning, don't speak to me. You could be a kidnapper or you could be a trauma. You don't have to do all of that. I mean, if you choose to, that's your life, free will. We unique for a reason. They have demographics for a reason because people are so different. They have to measure the differences in people and the differences that two people with similarities might have between each other. So all of that's different. Expecting people to have the same point of view of life is insane. I would never do that, but I definitely would imagine that people need to be more aware of the life that they have, because after so many years of being an adult, your life is 100% you're doing. No longer is it because of childhood or anything anymore. After so long, after so many decisions, so many changes, after that, that's a completely new slate of living that you created. So you got to do some rebuilding, some renovation, some demolition, some reconstruction. Chapter 8, throwing rocks until you join the club. One of the funniest and saddest human patterns is watching people throw rocks at a club until they themselves join the club. People criticize homeowners until they buy a house. They criticize business owners until they start a business. They criticize parents until they have children. They criticize people with money until they get money. They criticize people who move away until they get a chance to leave. They criticize therapy until life beats them into a waiting room. They criticize boundaries until they finally get tired of being used. Then suddenly the story changes. Now they understand nuance. Now they want grace. They want people to stop judging, privacy, compassion. They want everyone to understand it's not that simple. Here, is oh, now it's not that simple. When you were throwing rocks, it was a clear day. Now that you're inside the building, suddenly you discovered architecture. That is what emptiness does. It creates moral positions that are not rooted in wisdom. They are rooted in distance. Some people are not principled. They are excluded. Their opinions changes when access changes. They hated the wealthy until they got money. They hated the popular until they became known. They hated bosses until they became one. The hating the popular is so common. I seen it on social media in the beginning stages when a lot of people came on there as musty nobodies. And then after a while, after they started seeing what aesthetics was and what got people's attention, once they became a part of the crowd, you didn't hear that anymore. And some of them was dragging for people and then became social besties because the other person was popular. They hated people who moved differently until movement benefited them. This is why self-awareness matters. Without self-awareness, people confuse resentment with righteousness. They think they have a moral stance when they really have an emotional wound. And when life gives them access to the thing they condemned, they realize they did not hate the thing, they hated being outside of it. The black hole problem. Word to black holes. The emptiness is dangerous because when people finally receive what they thought they needed, the void does not often shift. Blue waves. Let me put some blue waves up here. That'll be better because it's moving. Oh, I got to remove this first. Not me slow. There we go. A black hole can consume everything about it, but it does not become satisfied. It just keeps pulling. That is how the void works. A person says, when I get money, I will be happy. They get money. Now they need more money. They say, when I get a relationship, I will feel complete. They get a relationship. Now they need constant reassurance. They say, when I get attention, I will feel seen. They get attention. Now they are terrified of being forgotten. They say, when I get my body right, I'm going to feel confident. They change their body. Now they find another flaw. They say, when I get married, I will feel secure. They get married. Now they fear abandonment in a bigger house. They say, when I have kids, I will finally feel love. They have kids. Now they expect the children to regulate the parents' emotional life. This is how people check off every vain marker on the vanity checklist and still operate from lack. The void says more attention, sex, money, praise, surgery, followers, status, proof, control, reassurance, baby. And when it comes to sex, they have people infiltrating dating apps, using it as a hookup spot to constantly have access to new bodies. And they have apps just for hookups that people are on all day, every day. Some people are connecting with multiple people, baby. The streets talk. It's some very freaky frogs out there. That is why people should take care of their health regardless. You could be celibate, you could be a hot pocket. Take care of your health. Even when you're in public, y'all in the gym now wiping down equipment. Keep up with yourself. Know when your body is weakening or when your body's fighting off something. When you keep up with your health, you will instantly know when your body's fighting off stuff because you will see the immune response. You will notice the difference in the way you sleeping or the way you breathe and all your lymph nodes and things like that. Because y'all don't know what kind of habits people have out there. Y'all think that y'all can just judge people based off of how they look and that, oh, that's the person that's freaking, or the person that wear this certain type of clothes. No, it's a lot of cookie cutter, clean looking people that's living real grimy out there. But if you take care of yourself, it cancels out all of that, because if you're keeping up with your health, you're not going to be allowing people in your space to touch you in certain ways, or you're not going to be in public using gym equipment that 6 other people just sweated all their bodily fluids with all types of sicknesses out there that are transferred through bodily fluids. You're not going to be risking that. When it comes to health with sleeping, you're going to know that you have regular checkups. And if you have a partner or a new partner, you know to get them checked regardless. Now, don't care what no results say. You don't know what that person did between those results. You don't know if they have something that takes months to show up. Instead of every time you see stats on the thing, oh, they have a million people with this. Oh, this is like, shut up. It's all from people being reckless. All parties. It don't matter who it is. Treat yourself like the luxury that you seek. This crazy that y'all could see beauty and other stuff and see the artist skills and paintings and the beauty of different cities, but y'all treat yourself like a dumpster. But the void does not need more. The void needs truth. The void needs attention from the person carrying it. The void needs grief. The void needs self-honesty. The void needs boundaries, purpose, healing. The void needs God, if that's what you believe in. Needs soul work. Because when a person tries to fill an internal wound with external trophies, they are putting cologne on the gas leak. It might smell better for a second, but the house is in danger. Chapter 10, Vanity Cannot Heal a Vacancy. I guess I'll go bigger again. That'd be funny if I just disappear. I'm like, could I change this shape? I don't like that one. I just leave well enough alone. Looking all foggy, even though it's supposed to be 4K. You see this with flashy people making bad financial decisions for the attention of others. You see it with people going overboard with cosmetic surgeries until they are unrecognizable, chasing better looks and ending up looking like Jeepers Creepers got a Groupon in Miami. You see it with people chasing career paths because they believe the title will guarantee camaraderie, longevity, stability, respect, or identity. Offshore, some of the men coming out there to be friendly bobbing with people and not focus on their money, ending up in buku mess, ending up being railroaded because they might call in or miss a crew change, and then they dumbass got everybody on their social media page, so people immediately, oh, look at him over here. Then they get there and realize the same alienation followed them into the new room, because wherever you go, your unhealed self gets a carry-on bag. A person can become a doctor, lawyer, musician, athlete, influencer, entrepreneur, pastor, professor, executive, spouse, parent, or public figure and still be emotionally homeless. That is why some successful people sabotage themselves. They reach the mountaintop and realize the view did not heal the wound. So now they need stimulation, drama, affairs, substances, gambling, overspending, public validation, private chaos. The outside search for things that must come from within leads to waste. That is like if oxygen came from our homes, but instead of going home, people ran all over the city looking for a breath of air. They checked the club, relationships, mail, the mall. Well, they don't check the mall. Mall's closing, but Throwback Thursday. They check the dealership, the surgery table, comments, bank account, job title, church pew, family group chat. They check everywhere except the inner house they refuse to function in. And because they refuse to go home internally, they keep suffocating in public. Shape shifting, no mystique. Many people spend their lives shape shifting, word to Mystique from X-Men, only to end up as a bunch of pieces from random puzzles. They become whoever the room awards. Around religious people, they become holy. Around street people, they become hard. Around intellectuals, they become deep. Around wealthy people, they become sophisticated. Around broken people, they become victims. Around popular people, they become performers. Around romantic partners, they become whatever gets chosen. Around family, they shrink back into the old version everyone recognizes. But when they're alone, they don't know who they actually are. This is what happened when identity is outsourced. Psychologically, this can connect to low self-concept, codependency, people-pleasing, attachment wounds, shame, and fear of rejection. A person with a weak internal identity may survive by adapting. In childhood, that adaptation may have protected them. If a child had unpredictable parents, word to me, they may have learned to read the room before reading themselves. If a child was only raised for performance, they may have learned that love is something you earn by becoming useful. If a child was ignored, they may have learned to exaggerate themselves to be seen. But what once helped someone survive can later block them from becoming whole. There is a difference between adapting and abandoning yourself. Adaptation says, I know how to move in different spaces. Self-abandonment says, I become whatever keeps me from being rejected. And the more a person abandons themselves, the more they resent people who do not. That is why authentic people are often attacked by people who are still auditioning for belonging. Chapter 12, permanent decisions made from temporary hunger. The void becomes even more dangerous when people make permanent decisions from that state. Marriages, businesses, families, friendships, relocations, careers, children, financial commitments, religious commitments, social identities, public personas. all built from hunger instead of wholeness. I knew somebody personally that then tried like 6 different religions. And for every time they try one, they such a spokesperson for it that they shit on every religion outside of that one, only for them to switch again and switch again and switch again. Baby, y'all, the kids are not all right. All built from hunger instead of wholeness. A person who feels unloved may marry the first person who provides comfort. A person who feels unseen may start a business mainly to be admired. A person who feels empty may have children because they want unconditional love. A person who feels lonely may join a friend group that normalizes destruction. A person who feels powerless may chase leadership for control instead of service. A person who feels spiritually lost may cling to religious performance without transformation. And these structures do not stand long. It is like building a house on sand. It may look good during the ribbon cutting, everyone smiling, everyone taking pictures, everyone saying congratulations. But when the storm comes, and storms always come, the foundations start telling the truth. This is why marriages collapse after the wedding high fades. I can't tell you as a kid how many weddings I went to, and them people was divorced so quick. I didn't understand as a kid because they made marriage seem like it was a magical thing that you tied together forever for life. Yeah. This is why some businesses fail when attention does not become discipline. This is why some friendships die when the shared wound stops being enough glue. This is why some families become war zones when people realize children do not heal adults, they reveal adults. This is why some people wake up years later and realize, I built a whole life trying to escape a feeling I never faced. That is a hard realization, but it can also be holy. Because the moment you realize the foundation is wrong, the moment you can stop decorating the cracks. Chapter 13: Marriage, Friendships, Families, and Businesses Built on Boards. How many children endured divorced parents because one or both adults never really connected? Me. How many children grew up inside households where the parents were not in love? They were just afraid to be alone? Me. How many families were created because somebody wanted purpose but never developed emotional maturity? Mine. How many people had children hoping to receive love, then punish those children for having needs? My siblings and their children. How many friends? Well, not my sister. I have one sister that live out of town, not her. I'm talking about the local people. How many friendships are long dead but still walking around because of history? The ones I used to have. How many friendships continue on unlimited forgiveness points, turning and burning because both people bonded through a shared void? How many people stay connected because they've known each other for years? Ha ha ha. Even though the relationship has been spiritually expired since Obama's first term. Some connections are not love, they are nostalgia with the pulse. Some connections are not loyalty, they are fear of starting over. Some connections are not family. There are trauma patterns with matching last names. I always couldn't even match the last names. Same connections are not friendships. There are mutual avoidance agreements. Some connections are not romance. They are two inner children trying to parent each other from broken chairs. This is where the void becomes generational. A person who does not heal may choose a partner from their womb. Then they raise children inside that womb. Then the children inherit emotional weather they did not create. Then everyone acts shocked when the children become anxious, avoidant, aggressive, secretive, overly responsible, emotionally numb, or desperate for validation. And the family says, that child acting out. No, sometimes the child is acting out the truth. The adults keep acting over. This is why healing matters beyond the individual. When one person refuses to face the void, other people may be forced to live inside its consequences. Chapter 14: Comfort in Cupid's Wig. Love was kidnapped and replaced with comfort in a Cupid's wig. That line matters because many people are not in love. They are in comfort. They are in routine. They are in access. They are in familiarity, shared bills, shared trauma, public image, sexual habit, fear. They are in we've been together too long. They are in my family likes you. They are in starting over is hard. They are in at least I know you crazy. But knowing someone's dysfunction is not the same as being loved. Comfort can mimic love because comfort reduces anxiety. A person may feel calm around someone not because the connection is healthy, but because the person is predictable. Predictable dysfunction can feel safer than unfamiliar peace. That is why some people reject healthy love. Healthy love may feel boring to a nervous system raised in chaos. If someone grew up associating love with chasing, arguing, proving, begging, forgiving, and waiting for emotional crumbs, This stable affection may feel suspicious. They may feel there is no spark. But sometimes the spark was anxiety. Sometimes butterflies were your nervous system filing a police report. Sometimes passion was panic in a red dress. And during dispute, the truth shows up. The actions during conflict often reveal whether love is present or whether comfort had been wearing love's clothes. When someone loves you, they wait, hold it, J Dog. When someone loves you, they may get upset, but they do not usually seek to destroy you. Word to people, every time they're upset, insults immediately fly out, disrespect immediately flies out, vulnerable moments are immediately weaponized. Next line. When someone loves you, they may need space, but they do not use silence as psychological warfare. Baby, people be getting it twisted with mine. My silence mean I'm done with your ass. So it ain't no like it's a difference between a person using silence then coming back like nothing or playing mind games and a person door slamming you because emotionally and mentally they slowly died. Their love died for you and they tried to revive it, and you literally would not receive the CPR. And you continue with your ways, you continue with your chest out, and that person had to go through the grieving process alone. And by the time your musty ass realized that it was already over. When someone loves you, they may disagree, but they do not humiliate you for sport. When someone loves you, they do not use your wounds as ammunition. When someone loves you, they do not turn every conflict into a courtroom where they judge, jury, bailiff, and emotional executioner. A lot of people discovered during disputes that love was not on do not disturb somewhere in the Maldives, sipping something expensive, while comfort was back home pretending to be commitment. Chapter 15, therapy as an earthquake. This is why being the only person in therapy can cause a Chile-sized earthquake in a person's life, because the country of Chile be having some strong ass earthquakes, if you didn't know. Therapy does not just teach you words, it changes your tolerance. You stop tolerating emotional manipulation. And what I find too is that in environments where people grew up and struggle, no matter what your race is, a lot of people have toxic traits from their parents, either from the daddy who wasn't helping the mama out, and when he would have his time with the children, he was putting little seeds, or sometimes it could be the mother, it could be anybody. Let's not even focus on which one it is, just focus on the fact that it is a parent doing it. And you could kind of see that behavior in people, especially people who have siblings and they call themselves trying to parent their siblings, or maybe they was competing with their siblings, so they really not good at taking correction because they so used to being critiqued and compared to their siblings. Baby, it's the worst state to be in when you have a grown adult with all types of grown responsibilities. So you assuming this person has this going for themselves, so I could talk to them about this simple things, and then the conversation turned into them. Instead of them focusing on what y'all talking about, they constantly keep using words to insult you, telling you stuff about the way you said something, or attacking your thoughts, your brain, or the way you think, when the conversation is about the color of chicken when it's fried. Like, you stop tolerating disrespect disguised as honesty. You stop tolerating family roles that require you to stay small. You stop tolerating relationships built on guilt. You stop tolerating friendships where your pain is entertainment but your growth is offensive. You stop tolerating being the emergency contact for people who never show up for you. And when your tolerance changes, your relationship shape. People may say therapy changed you. Not to mention, some people are so effed up that you could really genuinely want the best for them and be having patience with their flaws, but they so messed up that they don't even know how to process that, because they generally live lives where they got to please people. So the fact that somebody's there to please them, they're not going to receive you. They're not. They may tell you verbally they appreciate you. They may even mention it randomly. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, you will never matter to them more than the people who they're chasing. Sometimes that is true. Therapy changed your availability for foolishness. Therapy changed your appetite for chaos. Therapy changed your willingness to confuse familiarity with health. Therapy changed your ability to betray yourself for approval. The U.S. Surgeon's General Advisory on Loneliness and Isolation emphasizes that social connection affects health, education, employment, and broader life outcomes. But it also makes it clear, hold it, J-Dog, that poor quality relationships are part of the problem, not the solution. Quantity is not good, baby. Sometimes being alone and healthy is safer than being enmeshed in a group of people that's destroying you every chance they get. And it don't be outward destroying. People automatically think attacks mean attacks like on the internet where you directly insult a person. That's why anything that's not an insult, a lot of emotional people are able to be tricked into receiving it. If a person be nice nasty, a lot of y'all don't catch that because y'all so used to people being directly, or the fact that they soothe your emotions with the statement. That is important because some people are surrounded but still starving. They have family but no safety, friends but no honesty, partner but no intimacy. Hello, that is jail. That is mental prison, to be committed to somebody and to be saving yourself in between relationships only to end up with someone with erectile dysfunction. They have and a pill popping habit. They have coworkers but no belonging. They have a church but no compassion. They have followers but no correction. Therapy can expose that the issue was not merely loneliness. The issue was being connected to people who could not meet the person honestly. And once the truth lands, the earthquake begins. Baby, if Mother Nature paid an electric bill, that bill would be high because the amount of lightning that's been striking is like daytime outside. Chapter 16, the spiritual hunger behind the social performance. There is also a spiritual side to this. Many religious and spiritual traditions have their own language, and I will always include all religions or all major religions because there are 8+ billion people on this planet. Religions are based off where you live at. If you grew up, if you would have been born in a different country, you would have started off with a different religion. Now, whether you change to your current one, who knows? But you would have been in a different religion. So no religion can shit on another one. Like that's what people believe in. That's what people life based off. And billions and millions of people have different religions. So when you get to that eggshell head part where you think yours is the best for your life. Like stop imposing y'all beliefs and y'all religious rules on other people. Some people don't believe in anything, but people have a right to believe. When you get to the point to where you're trying to force beliefs on people, you falling into that indoctrination of being manipulated. Anyways, some call it separation from God. So some call it soul hunger, ego, attachment, illusion, suffering, being out of alignment. Some call it forgetting who you are. The language changes, but the pattern remains. A person becomes disconnected from their deeper self, from truth, from purpose, from love, from humility, from God, spirit, wisdom, and then starts trying to fill the sacred hunger with temporary things: status, sex, money, food, power, control, attention, drama, possessions, image, dominance, approval. But the soul does not eat plastic fruit. You can decorate emptiness, but you cannot nourish it with decorations. This is why many religious teachings warn against vanity, greed, pride, envy, lust, gluttony, idolatry. Huh, baby, the idol worship today is so many people fall above that. If the higher powers y'all believed in judged y'all the way that the writing said they would, a lot of y'all who condemn other people, you yourself would be condemned to hell because y'all already have idols. And the way y'all do it, you try to defend the way you do it, it's still idol worship. There is no way that you can make any human above reproach just because you like them, but then hold people accountable for the same actions. Baby, that's the first symptom of idol worship. But have fun with that. Money is useful, but it cannot be God. Beauty is enjoyable, but it cannot be identity. Marriage can be sacred, but it cannot be salvation. Children can be blessings, but they cannot be emotional medication. Career can be meaningful, but it cannot be your soul. Community can be healing, but it cannot replace self-awareness. Religious language often talks about building on rock instead of sand. Spiritually, that means foundation matters. Psychologically, it means motivation matters. Socially, it means the health of a structure depends on the health of what it holds up. A life built on performance will eventually exhaust the performer. A life built on envy will eventually poison the envier. A life built on external validation, social media, will eventually become a prison with an applause. Chapter 17, religion, soul work, and the inner house. Pew Research found that 70% of US adults describe themselves as spiritual in some way, lives, and 22% describe themselves as spiritual but not religious. Pew also reported in 2025 that 86% of Americans believe humans have a soul or spirit in addition to the physical body. That tells us that many people already sense there is more to being human than performance, possession, appearance, and status. But believing you have a soul is not the same as caring for it. A person can believe in God and still avoid self-examination. Ha! A person can quote scripture and still be emotionally immature. A person can burn sage and still be manipulative. A person can meditate and still be passive aggressive. A person can go to church every Sunday and still terrorize their family every Monday. A person can call themselves high vibration and still treat accountability like it has warrants. Spirituality without self-honesty becomes decoration. Religion without transformation becomes routine. Faith without humility becomes performance. Prayer without reflection can become avoidance. Meditation without accountability can become spiritual hiding. Peekaboo, hide and seek. The inner house still needs work. If oxygens came from our home, a lot of people would be running around the world gasping, blaming the city, blaming the weather, blaming their ex, the rich, their parents, the government, the healthy, the educated, blaming everyone but the house they refuse to enter. Spiritually, that inner house is where the soul breathes. Psychologically, that inner house is self-awareness. Emotionally, that inner house is regulation. Relationally, that inner house is boundaries. Financially, is discipline. Physically, it's care. Without the inner house, people become nomads of validation. Chapter 18, loneliness, disconnection, and real world data. Now, this is not just poetic talk, even though it sounds nice if I do say so myself. The data keeps showing a serious issue. Disconnection is not just emotional, it affects health. Hence why I go so hard. I would like for people to be able to enjoy their life. I was in physical therapy with so many people who life is damn near over and they got to learn to walk again. Some of them giving up. I don't want that to be anyone who has a fighting chance, at least. I don't want people to realize when they 50, 60, and 70 that they sold their soul to luxury, that they sold their soul to the crowd. Because selling your soul is not always signing a deal with the proverbial devil. Sometimes it's giving your essence away to things that didn't even have long-term value. You just wanted it so bad. You did what you needed to do to get it, but you weren't supposed to do that because the resources you used could have been used for your regular life. The CDC describes social isolation and loneliness as widespread problems in the United States that threaten mental and physical health. So not only do some people, no matter the body types, because don't get it twisted, I see people with muscles that eat like a dog. So people not only are destroying their mental, but you're not even giving yourself the proper nutrients for your body to be able to supplement all of these things that you're losing. It reports that about 1 in 3 US adults feel lonely and about 1 in 4 lack social and emotional support. The World Health Organization reported that in 2025 that loneliness and social isolation are linked with higher risks of stroke, heart disease, diabetes, cognitive decline, premature death, anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts. The American Psychological Association has also summarized research linking loneliness and social isolation with depression, poor sleep quality, impaired executive functioning, and accelerated cognitive decline. So when we talk about the void, we're not just talking about someone needing to get over it. We're talking about a human condition that can affect the body, the mind, the family, the economy, the workplace, the church, the community, and the culture. But here is where we have to be careful. Loneliness and emptiness are not always the same thing. A person can be alone and whole. A person can be surrounded and empty. A person can live alone and have strong social support. A person can have a full house and feel emotionally abandoned. This is not this issue is not simply the number of people around you. The issue is whether there is truth, support, and self-understanding, purpose, and emotional safety. That is why some people keep adding people to their lives and still feel empty. Another relationship, another friend group, another child, party, church, job, city, platform, new beginning. But they keep bringing the same unexamined self. That is why the void follows, why the void keeps repeating. The void keeps repeating because people often mistake symptoms for solutions. They feel lonely, so they chase attention. They feel insecure, so they chase beauty. They feel powerless, so they chase control. like them supervisors who don't have power at home and they come to work and take it out on the employees. They feel poor, so they chase status. They feel unseen, so they chase fame. They feel rejected, so they chase desirability. They feel purposeless, so they chase busyness. They feel spiritually disconnected, so they chase religious performance. But the thing they chase often becomes another mask. This is why a person can become famous and still be miserable, married and still lonely, beautiful and still insecure, wealthy and still fearful, educated and still emotionally foolish, religious and still cruel, popular and still empty, busy and still purposeless. The void repeats because the person keeps treating the outside world like a pharmacy from an internal wound. And some people would rather keep refilling the prescription than ask why they are still sick. This is also why people become defensive when someone points out the pattern. Hoo-hoo, how well do I know? I didn't even realize what pattern recognition was for most of my life when I was doing it. And baby, the way people react and backpedal, pussy pop, deflect, reject, and even gaslight you that you didn't witness them do the same thing 20 times and then question, hey, that was the 20th time that happened. Are you sure? Blah, blah, blah. Nope. That's like pulling the fire alarm in the library or during the press circle. A person would avoid may not be ready to hear you're not angry because they did something wrong. You're angry because their peace exposes your chaos. They may not be ready to hear you're not criticizing their health. You are avoiding your neglect. They may not be ready to hear you are not fighting injustice. You are resenting access. They may not be ready to hear you do not love them. You are attached to what they regulate inside of you. They may not be ready to hear you did not build a family from love. You built one from being the fear of being alone. That kind of truth does not knock politely. It kicks the door like the repo man at 6:30 a.m. in the morning. And that is why I encourage people to find out things about themselves, because I will not be the one telling you at all. I've even asked people when they've asked me to tell them, will you allow me to do this without allowing your emotions to hijack the conversation? Please, if you feel frustration or if you feel confusion, ask me for clarification and I will use better words, different words, or more precise words if I'm being too vague or if I'm coming off a way that I didn't mean to. Tell me what it sounds like I'm saying so I can tell you what I meant. So we can, just connect the dots where we miss. They don't ever do that. These people, it's the reason why people use them and don't help them. It is so much easier to use unaware people, which I don't, because I don't need anything from people, and it disgusts me to even want anything from somebody because I'm hyper independent. But it is much easier to use unaware people than it is to help them. That is why it's so easy for churches to use people, for nonprofits to lie and get money from people. Certain nonprofits, certain churches, certain pastors, certain online people. Not all, of course. Duh. It's so easy because all they have to do is push the buttons. We all know the buttons. A lot of people know the buttons on emotional people. So it is even funnier when I tell emotional people that and they still try to defend their outward displays of emotion and their oversharing. But then, so you can't save these people. You honestly can't. Like, it's so many different stories that reference the fact that you cannot save people and how dangerous it is to your safety trying to save people, and how some people will attack you while saving them, just like certain wild animals. When we see them YouTube videos where animals get saved thinking it's going to be like that all of the time, and then you go out in your backyard and try to save a coyote and it bite your arm off. No, you can't. You just don't feed the animals. Chapter 20, how to stop outsourcing your oxygen. If oxygen came from your home, the first responsibility would be to make sure your home functions. That is a metaphor. Stop outsourcing your oxygen. Stop expecting relationships to breathe for you, money to breed for you, beauty to breed for you, your children to breed for you, attention to breed for you, other people's approval to breed for you. You have to repair the inner house. That starts with self-awareness. Are you asking yourself, what am I really seeking? What emotions keep driving my decisions? Did I want this, or do I want what I think this will make me feel? Am I choosing this person from love or loneliness? Am I spending this money from strategy or insecurity? Am I criticizing this person because they're wrong or because they expose something I avoid? Am I angry at injustice or angry at exclusion? Am I building a life or building a costume? Those questions are not comfortable, but comfort is not always love, and comfort is not always danger. Sometimes discomfort is the sound of truth moving furniture. The inner house may need cleaning. Some roofs may have grief, shame, childhood wounds, envy, fear, old versions of you still waiting to be understood. You cannot heal a house you refuse to enter. Chapter 21, from emptiness to ownership. The opposite of emptiness is not constant happiness. The opposite of emptiness is ownership. Inner ownership means you stop making other people responsible for your unexamined hunger. It means you can say, I feel lonely, but I will not use people. I feel insecure, but I will not attack someone else's confidence. I feel behind, but I will not demonize someone else's progress. I feel unseen, but I will not turn every room into danger. I feel hurt, but I will not build a whole identity around injury. I feel rejected, but I will not confuse comfort with love. I feel angry, but I will not make permanent decisions from temporary pain. That is maturity, healing, prosperity. And prosperity here does not just mean money. Prosperity means your spirit is not broke. Your peace is not rented. Your identity is not on layaway. You can admire without envy. You can disagree without dehumanizing. You can be alone without collapsing. You can be loved without becoming dependent. You can have money without worshiping it. You can have beauty without being possessed by the mirror. Prosperity means you can have community without abandoning yourself. Prosperity means you can hold success without turning into a cartoon villain with the LinkedIn profile. That is the real glow up, not just looking better, functioning better, loving better, choosing better, resting, building, leaving, staying, disagreeing, healing. Chapter 22, prosperity after the void. A person who heals the void becomes harder to control. They are not easily manipulated by flattery because they know themselves. That's why with me, I appreciate compliments, but I don't know how to accept them because I don't really be expecting them. Not to mention, it's a whole backstory to that. But when people who sell stuff try to compliment me before they start selling stuff, they don't realize that they just piss me off by doing that shit because I already know what you're doing. And no, 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 no. They are not easily crushed by criticism because they have examined themselves. They are not easily seduced by flash because they have high values. They are not easily trapped by comfort because they know the difference between peace and familiarity. They are not easily dragged into chaos because they no longer need dysfunction to feel connected. They are not easily impressed by image because they have learned to look out for foundation. That kind of person becomes dangerous to unhealthy systems, especially when you live near inner cities where people it's common for those kinds of behaviors because people are just people, I guess. And then it makes you hit a fork in the road when it comes to connection because it'll make you monolith think and say, oh, everybody in this city is that way, everybody in that city is that way. For the most part, that's usually not true, but it can be that is common in that city. Like with Louisiana having all of the different issues with education, mental health, the jail rate. It can be if you in a state like Louisiana, you may have a worse chance at finding somebody than you do in a different state. You might be a person that hit like the lottery. The first time you dated in Louisiana, you found a decent person and y'all were able to connect with each other. Versus you might go to a healthy city and you just might be so happen to meet all of the toxic people. It's a thing of happenstance. Families built on guilt do not like them. Friends group built on stagnation do not like them. Workplaces built on exploitation do not like them. Relationships built on control do not like them. Baby, do not like. I should change it to me because that's literally my life. Religious spaces built on performance do not like them because a person who has started healing does not kneel before every emotional idol. They do not chase every dangling carrot. They do not confuse every invitation with opportunity. They do not confuse every familiar voice with wisdom. They do not confuse every warm body with connection, every compliment with love. They become selective, not arrogant, selective. There is a difference. Arrogance says I'm better than people. Discernment says I'm responsible for what I allow near my life. That is how you stop building on sand. And then closing, thank God. Whew. The void is dangerous because it convinces people that the answer is somewhere else, somewhere in another person, purchase, body, title, crowd, stage of life. But eventually, life brings the person back to the same door, the inner house, self, truth, womb, pattern, foundation. And at the door, the person has a choice. They can keep running around looking for oxygen in places that were never built for them to breathe. Or they can go home, enter the inner house, clean, repair, pray, grieve, apologize to yourself. I mean, you can apologize to people if you want to. Make sure you have change behavior behind it, though. They can forgive where forgiveness is healthy. They can leave where leaving is necessary. They can build, become, because the goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to stop making everyone else pay rent in a house you refuse to maintain. The goal is to stop confusing attention with love, comfort with connection, image with identity, and access with healing. The goal is to stop shape shifting until you become puzzle pieces from 10 different boxes. The goal is to become whole enough that you do not need to devour people, places, and things just to feel temporarily alive. Word to black holes. Everything you consume will not become light. Sometimes the light begins where you stop consuming and start confronting. Build on rock, not sand, vanity, fear, loneliness, applause, performance, someone else's validation. Build on truth, self awareness, wisdom, healing, and on if whatever religious affiliation, if that's your affiliation, foundation. Build on love that can survive conflict without becoming cruelty. Build on peace that does not need an audience. Build on a life where your oxygen comes from the house you finally choose to repair. And that is it for this video. The third one in one day, and it's raining and stuff. So happy El Nino. One tropical storm to another.